Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Ghoulish Podcast. I am Max Booth, an undead host, and on today's episode of the show, I am talking to my really good friend, Ryan C. Bradley, about evil books to celebrate the launch of his brand new novel, Say Uncle, a book I published through Ghoulish Books. I am super proud of how this book came out. I think it's a lot of fun. It's funny. It's a little sad. It's really cool. It's just a great time. We've been pitching it as Hellraiser meets Uncle Buck, and it's a pretty good comp, I think. It's a, it's like what if Uncle Buck was into, occult shit and was also just a trash human. It's a great book. Ryan is a really talented writer. He's really funny to talk to. And I hope you guys enjoy my episode with him. We're talking about his novel, yeah, but also about a bunch of other things related to evil books. What those books might be, I don't want to spoil that. You can just listen to the episode and find out directly. That's all I have to say. Please go buy Say Uncle. It's available now. Any place you buy books, you can most likely find it. There's also an audiobook that Ryan produced and narrated himself. He did a great job. Pick it up. You can buy the book directly from Ghoulish Books at ghoulishbooks.com or any other place. Ask your local indie bookshop to stock it. Say Uncle, a book with a great title. Well, if it isn't Ryan C. Bradley on the podcast, hello.
Well, I'm here.
That's how I'm going to begin introducing all my guests now. Just confronting them about something that, if I had to confront you about anything, what do you think it would be?
The stink in the toilet at the store after I left yesterday.
Oh no, did you do something to it?
No, I mean, not anything that I don't do to every toilet I use. It wasn't
Yeah.
like unique to your toilet what happened, but you did feed a lactose intolerant person pizza, and you were like, "Oh yeah, it's cool. Just use the toilet as much as you need."
To be honest, I wasn't. I did tell you I wasn't going to get pizza, but then you and Michael were like, "We will promise pizza." So then I had to go get some.
I don't remember you telling me that, but I'm sorry if that's what happened. I was not trying to force you. I would feel really bad if I did that.
For those who don't know what we're talking about, we're recording this on April 27th, a Sunday. The previous day was like a trilogy of events all happening at once. It was Indie Bookshop Day. It was the Ghoulish Books Bookshop 2 year anniversary. And it was the launch party of Ryan's new novel, Say Uncle, which we will publishing through Ghoulish Books and is the reason we are doing today's episode. It was a really busy day, a fun event. What was the event like for you from your point of view?
It was great. So Chris from Hot Happy Books, the owner of Hot Happy Books, I didn't see him behind me. He just came up to me and handed me flowers. And it's funny because I'm writing this book about toxic masculinity, say uncle, and I've never been given flowers before. And I'd always told Betsy because Betsy had always said like, "Oh, she'll get me flowers if I never gotten flowers." And I was like, "Well, what do I need them for? They just die." Then someone gave me flowers. I was like, "Whoa, this is awesome." I feel very good that someone gave me flowers. Um, Also, a lot of my friends were there, and I don't get to see my friends that often because we all live across Texas in like a 3 hour drive range.
Yeah.
Having a lot of people come together is always a lot of fun.
And it shouldn't be that long, but it's mostly just construction that makes it such a long drive. The roads are just
Yeah,
awful in Texas, especially like in central Texas between San Antonio and where you live, not Austin. What the fuck is that town called?
I
Are
live
we
in
dot
Georgetown,
are we
and
doxing
it
you?
should be a 90-minute drive on
Hmm.
I-35. That's what the GPS says it'll take with no traffic. But like
Hmm.
yesterday, Malik and I passed like maybe someone who died. Like there was like a what
Yes.
looked like a bag on the ground, and the whole left side, the whole north side of the highway was shut down as they took care of what was ever underneath that bag. And there's some motorcycles being loaded onto the back of a tow truck. So absolutely awful stuff.
I meant to tell you this. So Miguel kind of freaked me out this morning because he never like said anything once he made it home, and he usually is up before anyone else, and usually says something like in a group chat we have. So I
Yeah.
was Googling like traffic accidents to make sure he didn't die on the way home, and the only thing I found was in South Austin, the highway was shut down briefly from the fatal motorcycle accident.
Okay.
So you
So
will
that's definitely what we
correct.
saw, and that's
Yeah.
awful. I This is the second dead body I've seen on the road in like 2 years, and I don't like it. I would prefer if no one died on the road, and I definitely don't want to look at it.
Controversial stance.
Controversial stance. Yeah, I am anti-fatal collisions. Anti.
Um, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about what Say Uncle is?
Say Uncle is the story of a 15-year-old boy, Braden, and his uncle, who's getting a separation from his wife, comes to stay at Braden's house and takes Braden's bedroom. And Braden's pretty pissed about this as he's trying to have the best summer of his life, and he sneaks back into his room to steal back his favorite porno magazine, where he finds that his uncle has this black magic book bound in human skin.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool thing to, for an uncle to have, I think. Uh, I have lots of nephews and nieces. I don't have any. Oh my God, that just I wasn't even planning on mentioning this because I forgot this, but just
Yeah.
saying that sentence unlocked a memory. When I was younger, and so I had one nephew and three nieces fairly early on when I was a kid. And they would often stay at our house. So I helped just like I was always present in their lives as they were babies and growing up. And my nephew, Anthony, quickly became obsessed with spooky movies like I was. And I had this DVD as a kid. It was of the Evil Dead movie, but it was a special edition, and the case was like ribbly, and it was like the Necronomicon. It was so cool. Like it
That's
had,
awesome.
it was great. And shout out to my nephew Anthony, who, as a child, took a knife to it and destroyed it as a baby. Not, he wasn't a baby. I mean, he was like, I don't know, 3 or 4. Uh, yeah, he destroyed my Necronomicon special edition of the Evil Dead. Really upsetting. I have never forgiven him, and I am never going to. What is he now? Oh man, he's going to be 25 now.
Do you think you could take him in a fight? Like if it came
No,
to it?
no, I don't think so. He's
Maybe you should
pretty.
try. If you
He's
can't beat him in a fight, you should at least like nominally forgive him.
yeah. I would be the one saying uncle. I think if we fought. By the way, great title. I don't know if I've told you that before, but I think it's pretty cool. Uh,
Thank you. Everyone who keeps hearing Max say that, Max did come up with the title, and I'm not going to say what the other title was on a podcast right now.
I am Neville not going to say great title when we're talking about this book, so just get used to it. It's a
I love it.
it's
No,
a joke
it's
that I can't stop doing. But it is a great title. Also a great book. It's
thank you.
I mean, do you have any specific things that will like big inspirations for this book? Are you a fan of uncles? You a fan of like old occult books? I mean, what was like the genesis of this thing?
So I really started, and I keep telling this story, and people keep not believing me, but I was watching, did you see HBO's show Chernobyl?
Yes, I did.
So I watched that, and at the end of that, I was like broken, but especially by like the way they kept telling them the things that were happening were not happening. They were saying like, oh, the radiation can only be this high because our meter only goes this high. And that like cone of silence in that show really kicked up some stuff for me. And I was like, I got to write about this. And I started writing it. And yeah, basically that day I started writing.
Yeah. Now, for those listening, the book does not take place in well, that show takes place, and there's no radiation or anything going on. But I do get what you mean. That's I see what you mean, and yeah, and if someone reads the book with that like in mind, I think it's going to open up a lot of things going on in the book, which is about a family. And I really like this functional dynamic going on, especially with the uncle, but also with like all of the family in it, I would say. And the uncle specifically has a lot of like early 2000s, late 90s negging like skills going on. I'm trying to think of what that book was called. Like it was a big book that everyone read back then. That was like
Oh,
it taught you how to pick up chicks by being an asshole.
I
Um,
remember the book you're talking about. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but
yeah.
those that book and like specifically like the shows they had. Remember there used to be the shows on MTV
Yeah.
where it would be like, yeah, it's the rule of large numbers. You just talk to enough women and one of them will fuck you. And like if you make them feel bad, they'll want you more. Like that kind of stuff, which like obviously makes me furious because it's so terrible. Even like the rule of large numbers thing. Like it, if the assumption is that every time you come on to someone, you're not doing psychic damage, but you are for a lot of people doing psychic damage if you just go to 50 women in a row and you're like, hey, will you suck my dick? Hey, will you suck my dick? Or whatever pickup line you're using, it's going to hurt 49 of those women probably. So
So
it's like awful stuff.
So the topic of the episode is evil books, and we might as well talk about the one that we were just mentioning, which I just Googled and figured out the title. This is perhaps one of the most evil things around. It's called The Game, penetrating the secret society of pickup illness. And it came out in 2005, which I thought it came out much earlier than that. It's by an investigative reporter named Neil Strauss, and it's basically a chronicle of his journey into the seduction community. And I know it was used like heavily by scumbags wanting to pick up tricks and how to, seduce ladies, but in really awful ways. And I can't imagine any good came from the publication of this book. Not to be
Yeah.
confused with David Fincher's The Game. Feel like different game. Beyond that, so we're talking about evil books because, as you said, the uncle has a mysterious, like occult book in his possession, is hiding. Did you do much research into those types of books while writing it?
No, I would the most of the research I did for this book was what was around 'cause, like I was 15 in 2005 and the character's 15 in 2005. Like looking back, like you said, like it didn't feel like you said that book didn't feel like it came out that year, it came out earlier. But time works so differently when you're 35 than when you're 15.
Hmm.
Like everything now feels like very close together and it's easier to tell stuff apart. When you're 15, it's like a whole year feels like a lifetime.
Yeah.
Like the being a sophomore in high school for a whole year kind of thing just feels so much longer than a year feels now. But no, I didn't do. I think the main inspiration for the evil book was one, like the trope of the evil book, but two, I did have a Penthouse magazine when I was 15, and I did get it from a older friend in Boy Scouts who was old enough to buy porno magazines at the time, so I bribed him to buy me one. And like I was interested in the pictures, which are bad because they're photoshopped and like they create an unrealistic body image for women. And I recognize that now in a way I didn't when I was 15. But the letters section then had this like I think it was called the gradual approach, and it was a description of how to convince a woman who does not want to have anal sex to have anal sex with you by something called like they called it the gradual approach. They described all the different steps you would take. And it just even at like 15, I was like, okay, this is wrong. She doesn't want to have anal sex, just like
Yeah.
take the L. Um, and so I think that was a huge inspiration for like there's a scene that ends with Uncle Polly saying, "Don't look at the pictures, look at the letter section." Right after Braden reads something from this evil book,
Hmm.
and I'm really trying to equate like that kind of thinking with the evil in the book. I don't know how successfully I do that, but I think that was the thing I was working with, and so I didn't research like the magic of evil books as much as like I just tried to deepen that metaphor and make that connection clear without preaching.
Yeah, both. both of these examples, they share a like a vibe, almost like a cursed vibe to them, and I think you do succeed at that. What happened to the penthouse that you had? Do you still have it preserved someplace?
No, I got a Playboy subscription in
Oh.
college as a gift from an uncle. Uh,
Go on.
so like I had this like stack of nudie magazines, and I don't know, the internet started existing, so I no longer really wanted nudie magazines, and my
Yeah.
mom found them when I was like 22 or 23, and at that point it was like I don't think she was happy about it, but I also didn't think she could like do anything.
Yeah.
And I think they just like stayed in the my desk in that room that I grew up in until my parents moved and they just threw them out.
What was the conversation like when she found them?
I was awkward.
I bet. That's why I'm asking you for entertainment.
I don't remember exactly. I imagine she was not happy with me at that point, but I also imagine like I didn't care because we'd have the magazines. Because I lived with a shared space with six people, and so
Mhm.
we just left them on our coffee table, and like people would look at them at parties because we had parties all the
Okay.
time. Like girls would go through them at parties specifically because they thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I feel like
Oh, this is college?
this is college. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, man, you've had a rock star lifestyle, but I
No,
forgot those
I
curlies in
never had a rock
college.
star.
I never went
Uh,
to college. I don't know how things work. I didn't know you just go to people's houses and there's pornographic magazines on tables. No
I
one tells
think
you
like
this.
so like the things I miss about college was that like the you had dorms
Yeah.
and you would live in a dorm with six friends and you just like hang out all the time and it was so much fun. And there'd be like weird creative cross-pollination where like my friends weren't into writing or books, but like they show me like movies that I've never watched or like I played a lot of Mario games because one roommate that I've never played.
Mhm.
And like it was just all that stuff. And like I was exposed to all this music I'd have never listened to because I was living with these people who were not in the same field as me. I think that was the part I liked most about college. And then being able to just like walk everywhere all the time. I missed that so much living in Central Texas where I looked it up. The closest thing I could walk to is a McDonald's from my house. And it is a 45-minute walk. And it is on
Jesus.
a road with no sidewalk and a speed limit of 65.
Texas does not like pedestrians, have discovered. So many towns just don't have sidewalks. Well, they have a sidewalk that will just abruptly end and then and there's no place to go from there. You just have to turn around and go back. It's pretty depressing.
Yeah, I was at Curia Mervosa, which is a half hour from my house 2 weekends ago, and I was just like clicking into Google Maps, and not only was the walk shorter than public transit, it was like half the time. It had taken me 18 hours to take public transit, a 30-minute drive back to my house
Oh my
from this
God.
bookshop, and it would have been a 9-hour walk. And it's just like, what is this? What? And why aren't there trains? I can just imagine like, I know why there aren't trains. I know
Fucking
Southwest is like
Southwest. Yeah.
yeah, and I know that like the city of Austin had a referendum or where we voted to have a train put in from like Cedar Park, which is near me, into Austin. And Ken Paxton, the attorney general, sued to block that after people approved it in a referendum vote because he said it was illegal to approve a new tax in a referendum. I think
I
he
love this
won.
state, man. It's a good state. I
But
love
like
the officials we have.
if I had taken like a train to your bookshop yesterday, I mean, I'd have to probably go into San Antonio itself, but like
Yeah.
it'd have been like an hour, San Antonio to Austin.
Hmm.
And I'd have been sitting on a train. I could have still hung out with Michael Lewis Dixon, who shout out to him for driving me down yesterday.
Author of Sick. Go get his book.
Yeah, he's the best. We have a weekly movie night. But we could have just like ridden on the train and shot the shit with one of us not having to drive and just like relaxed. Because
Yeah.
trains are relaxing. I'm never relaxed in a car.
No. It's impossible to relax in a vehicle on a highway. Well, no one's paying attention and everyone's driving so fast. It's really scary. I think about like when I used to live in Indiana and we would often, my brothers and I, take the train up to Chicago and just hang out. It was great. I love trains and it's fucking despicable that we don't have a train in central Texas going from like, I don't know, like San Antonio up to Dallas even, like a fucking bullet train. It'd be great. All these big cities, it makes so much sense to have a train that you could catch to go back and forth. And we
Hmm.
just don't have it, and it's really sad. I don't think we're going to be honest. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I think there have to be like a cultural shift at a seismic level. But what I've observed, and I don't know if you've seen this too, is people who grew up in Texas are pretty normal. And then I'll meet like people like there's one guy I met from California who moved to Texas, and he was like I met him, he was living in my neighborhood. He moved out now, but he stopped to talk to me and some neighbors, and he had like a cup full of whiskey and Coke, and he started telling us about how he bought an AR-12 shotgun, which is a shotgun that fires at the speed of an assault rifle. And everyone else was like, "Oh, cool." And I was like, "What do you need that for?" And he said, "Snakes." And I've never stopped thinking about this guy because, like, in what situation do you need to kill 12 snakes in under 30 seconds?
How does this tie into public transport?
I'm thinking, I don't know.
I
I don't
know.
know, man.
I want to talk about this. I'm just trying to follow where you're going.
Well, what I'm thinking about is the people who move to Texas are the ones who are going to block public transport, is the way
I
I'm thinking of
understand.
it.
Okay, that makes
That's the
sense.
guy who's
Okay.
going to say no trains. I think most of the people I know who grew up in Texas, like Josh Roundtree or LP Hernandez, who are some of our writer friends, they're like totally normal dudes. You would not be like,
Yeah.
this is like a born and bred Texan, even though like they've both been here for like 5 or 6 generations.
Yeah. I don't know. It's it's fucking shotgun. My spouse's ex-husband uh she told me an anecdote once how suddenly he was outside the front yield shooting the front yield with his pistol, and she ran out and she's like, "What are you doing?" He was like, "This is a snake." Just shooting at the ground in a suburban street with a handgun, trying to get a snake. What is with these people trying to shoot snakes? It doesn't make it's really small. It's not a good chill get to hit. It doesn't seem easy. And also it
Yeah.
seems fucking crazy to even want to do.
I think for the guy in the pickup truck who was drinking as he drove, he was like trying to start a farm. He was not a smart man because he was talking about how he was gonna like start a farm in our neighborhood, which is like a very suburban neighborhood. And then he was gonna pay it off by selling milk lower than grocery store prices to people in our neighborhood. But first he had to clear the field, which is why he needed the shotgun for the snakes.
Okay.
And
And did he do that?
no, he moved out past Waco so he could do this farm idea there. And he had two
Oh.
sons he's just gonna let roam. And
What do you mean let roam? Like in the field or just goodbye, sons? See ya.
I think like he meant in the
Like
field.
Phyllis Gump?
I don't know. He was like when you talk to him, he was a nice person, even though he was not responsible or intelligent.
Yeah, I get that. I'm
Um,
I'm similar in a lot of ways.
I did try to always just call him on his shit and just ask questions like, what do you want the shotgun for? How
Yeah,
many snakes do you think you're gonna see?
yeah.
There's also
Uh,
just like what I've been told to do, because I run a lot and I see snakes once in a while, is just turn around and slowly walk away. And unless it's like a very aggressive snake, like rattlesnakes don't want to bite you, they just don't want you in their territory.
yeah. I mean, I don't think I'm wrong. When it comes to snakes, they mostly bite you if you step on them. Like if you're not paying attention and you walk up right on the shit.
That I don't know. You probably know more about snakes than I do.
No, no, I don't. I've had a few encounters with snakes. I'll talk about no, I won't even mention it because I don't want to have to give like a disclaimer for animal violence. Uh, well, let's move on to the topic of the episode. Since people might want to talk about evil books, we talked about the game, which is an evil book. I also
Yeah.
briefly mentioned the Necronomicon from the Evil Dead, but that was taken from like a Lovecraft thing, right?
Yeah, so the Necronomicon was invented by H.P. Lovecraft, noted racist and horror legend, and it's from his story. He originally wrote about it in 1922 in his story, The Hound. And I think, in large part, Lovecraft is such like a big influence today still because he let other people write in his world. So like August Derleth, Clark Ashton, what's that guy's last name? Smith?
Trill. Just say
Um,
Smith. He's not
yeah,
alive
Clark,
now.
but he would let them write with his Necronomicon concept, and so it became like extra influential because everyone was allowed to do it.
Yeah.
But he got the idea. He stated this himself from Robert Chambers' 1895 collection, The King in Yellow,
Hmm.
which is a four-story cycle, and it's inside of a whole collection, which is funny because like the first four stories are the King in Yellow stories, and the next one is a ghost story, and the rest are
I
romances.
haven't read the collection. I didn't know that. I assumed the whole book was about the King in Yellow.
I had assumed the same thing, and then I listened to it, and it was like the first four stories, like I said, were the King in Yellow stories, all about the play of the King in Yellow that drives anyone who reads it insane. And then every story after that was unrelated.
What the hell?
It was actually
You
like different genres too, which is so weird compared to how we do short story collections today. Like I cannot imagine anyone releasing a collection now that's like, we've got half horror stories, half romance.
pretty cool. Uh, yeah, it'd be difficult to sell as like a small press, I think. You need that like specific consistency, I think, in what you will selling people. With King in Yellow, I'm not the most educated person when it comes to the genre. I didn't even know the King in Yellow was a thing until I saw True Detective season one. Are you familiar with True Detective?
Yeah, yeah. Time is a flat circle.
Drilk, yes. Uh, yeah, but there's a lot of King and Yellow stuff in that show. I don't think there's any like reference to a book in the show. I can't recall, but there's a lot of stuff referencing the actual stuff going on in the King in Yellow. Um, I haven't read, I don't think any Lovecraft. I think I tried to read one thing by him once, and I just couldn't get into it. It wasn't my style that I preferred, and I quickly lost interest. Have you read much of his stuff?
I read a Lovecraft collection when I was graduating high school, and it ended with The Rats in the Cellar.
Okay.
And The Rats in the Cellar is very famously the story where he named the cat.
Oh, okay.
When people say Lovecraft's not racist, and Bitter Corella says, "What did he name that cat?" That's the
Yeah.
story Bitter Corella is referencing.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to say the name of the cat. Folks can
Uh,
look that up if they want to.
I'll edit a soundbite of someone else saying it as you.
Please don't.
Okay.
But yeah, Lovecraft was and I would teach when I was teaching, I would teach Victor Laval has this great book, The Ballad of Black Tom.
Great book.
Yeah, and it's an adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's story.
Red
Uh,
Hook?
yeah, it's something at Red Hook.
Okay.
But I would teach the book, and then I would have students read the Lovecraft story, and we'd talk over the conversation of like, because people say the Red Hook is Lovecraft's most racist story.
Oh, all right.
And so we talk about like the work Laval did to make it his own and how he kind of subverts everything Lovecraft is doing,
Hmm.
but also has better cosmic horror than Lovecraft. I'd
Yeah.
also always point out to my students that The Great Gatsby was contemporaneous to Lovecraft because they've all read The Great Gatsby. And you read The Great Gatsby, the prose are pretty much the same as they are today. Like sentences haven't changed much since then. Like 1850 to 1950 was huge changes. 1950 to now, or 1920 to now, sentences haven't changed a tremendous amount. And fiction writing style hasn't changed a tremendous amount, in my opinion, at least.
Hmm.
I'd always point that out because like there's people writing basically prose like we do today. And Lovecraft was writing this more like 1870s kind of style where he's describing everything at great length and it's hard to understand what he's saying a lot of the time. Um,
Do you think that's why he maybe stood out so much at the time? Was he was writing quite differently than anyone else? That
Well, I
will.
think he was writing at a time where it was like a transition where some people were still writing like that and some people were
Okay.
writing a more modern style. So he was like right at that like flashpoint.
Yeah.
But I think like I said earlier, I think why he sticks out and like people's minds now is that he invented the Necronomicon and Cthulhu, and then he was like, anyone who wants to can use these and not pay me. And so other people started writing stuff. And I think when most people think of those things, it's because of the other writers who wrote about them as much as it is because of Lovecraft's writing on them.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, even now, people often say Lovecraftian when they honestly just mean cosmic horror. It's pretty interesting how Lovecraftian has just become this common word we use.
Yeah, yeah, it's really interesting. I think Algernon Blackwood, like The Willows,
Hmm.
is the best cosmic story I've ever read. And I think that Blackwood had a better grasp of that before Lovecraft was doing it.
I haven't read him. I don't know. I haven't read anybody. I don't. I don't read.
You do.
Sorry. Um, but like talking about like what the King in Yellow book does, anyone who reads it, they go insane. It reminds me of the John Carpenter movie, In the Mouth of Madness. Have you seen that?
Yeah, with Sutter Kane.
Yeah, and that has like Carpenter, I wonder ever like talked about like the inspiration for that movie because well, I don't think he wrote it actually. Someone else did. I forget who wrote the movie. But the whole thing is about this like Stephen King knockoff whose new book is coming out, and when you read it, you go insane. Quite an evil book. Uh, I think the book is called In the Mouth of Madness, right?
Yeah, I've only seen the movie once,
Okay.
but I think it was In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah, pretty sure that's what it was. I love that book. I think it's an underrated John Carpenter movie. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, John Carpenter was
Um,
great. Or John Carpenter is
Sometimes.
great. He's still alive. He definitely
Yeah,
goes up and down. I did not like vampires at all.
I haven't seen Vampire since it came out, and it came out when I was a kid. I think it came out in 2002, something like that. And we bought it on DVD, and I recall thinking this is the greatest movie of all time. I don't think I would agree now if I watched it, but I refuse to, just so I have that memory
Yeah.
in my head that it's awesome. But it's difficult to watch any movie with James Woods in it now, so it's also why I haven't revisited a Videodrome in a while. However, my memory of Videodrome is the Pilsen James Woods plays is a complete piece of shit. So it
Yep.
makes sense that it would be him. But now that I'm thinking about it, I think that's who he plays in Vampires too.
Yeah, vampires, the thing I remember most is that there's a priest on
Hmm.
their like vampire killing team, and James Wood just keeps calling him gay as an
Okay.
insult for the entire movie. That's
Is
the
he?
the main thing I remember is it's extremely homophobic in that way.
Is he gay?
No.
Oh, man, so he's wrong. The only thing I recall about vampires is they have that really cool like weapon where they like hook vampires with a chain, and then like they have some crazy vehicle outside that like uh drags them out of hiding into the sun. I remember
Yeah, that was
that
pretty
was
cool.
yeah. I wish that would happen in real life. You know,
Yeah.
I would love to get stabbed and dragged outside. What other books that you have in mind that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, so the King in Yellow, I'm sure has influences too. Like Ambrose Bierce invented Carcosa. Yeah, Ambrose Bierce invented like the words Carcosa, which is what
Oh,
Chambers uses. So it
yeah,
keeps going back, and like there's evil books all over Gothic fiction. But I want to talk about some real evil books too.
yeah, man.
And specific,
If you ask like any government official in the state we live in, most books are pretty evil.
yeah, yeah. And I think it's the reason they keep showing up in fiction is because some books are evil, like the game you were talking about. But I do think books are just like a very good symbol for knowledge. And I don't
Hmm.
think we've had a better symbol for knowledge before or since.
The stone, just the stone that you would engrave in, you know?
you get a lot less mileage out of a
The,
stone
the Ten
than a
Commandments.
book.
I mean, surely people will kill living evil things in the stone besides the religious people. I don't know.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know anything. I wasn't around. Go on.
It's specifically I want to talk about like I don't want to talk about like evil books like Mein Kampf or Protocols of the Elder Zion because like while both are incredibly evil, it's not the kind of thing we're talking about right now. And I can't imagine like there's an audience out there that's like I need to hear Ryan say Mein Kampf is bad because
Did
like it
you
is.
did you see that book controversy recently on Instagram that blew up? Um, some
No?
some Instagram book review influencer person, she posted like a stack of recent books acquired, and one of them was randomly Mein Kampf.
Oh.
And it went like viral almost with all the hate that she was getting about it. And she just kept defending, like, I'm just interested in what he had to say.
But she didn't say like did she say like what she was interested in? Was she like I want to
Just,
emulate Hitler?
like his life.
Because I
I don't
think like
I
if
don't
you were
know.
to like study fascism, reading Mein Kampf to like understand a fascist point of view makes a good deal of sense.
I agree. I do think
But
it's crazy to randomly have it in a stack of like
yeah,
five other books, like no other context.
I do think for a book haul photo, it's a really weird inclusion. But with the internet, I always like there was like a person who made a list of authors who should be canceled, and it went viral. Like this was like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And then like I read the list, and the list was ridiculous. It was like some of them were like he murdered his wife. Another was like not flattering portrayals of fat people. And I was like, well, we should probably have separate lists for like
Yeah.
objectionable content and like actually murdered people.
Yeah, I agree.
But then like I looked into it more, and the person was like 17, and there was 50,000 full-grown strangers hopping down their throat to tell them how they were wrong. And it was like,
Awful.
well, this is bad. This is,
Yes.
I think, like, not even arguably, this is objectively 50,000 people yelling at a 17-year-old is worse than a 17-year-old making a cringy list of people not to read.
Yeah, like to the example I just mentioned, the reaction should be what we did, laughing and going, "That's pretty strange to do, man." Not
Right?
not just like saying you should die. Like
Yeah. Or
it's
at
way
least
too
like ask
extreme.
questions.
Yeah.
What context do you want to read Mein Kampf in? Are you like Hitler was a smart guy with some good ideas? Are you like, I wonder how we get to fascism? How do we combat this? I better understand it to understand how to work against it.
I wish there was any type of path to making the internet a place where we didn't have to have like a main character of the day. Well, everyone just has to just be like, oh yeah, this is a person. We were going to try to convince them to commit suicide today. It's really bleak.
It's terrible. It's just really bad. Um and I'm reading The Anxious Generation right now with Betsy, which is
What's that?
it's really fascinating nonfiction book. We're reading it because like we're raising a kid right now, and it's
Yeah.
about how smartphones rewired brains of
Oh,
kids.
okay.
And I'm like, I'm not that deep into the book, but one of the main things he's pointing out is like from like 9 to 13, kids are very susceptible
Mhm.
to like that's like your window for best figuring out how the world works.
Yeah.
And one, it's really hard when your posts have like a visible like counter because you have this like real time and it's like thing of like how do people like me and it's manipulated by an algorithm and that's terrible. But two, you get these internet pileups, which would like if that happened to me now as a 35-year-old with like a fairly successful life, I got mental illness, but who doesn't? But like that would shatter me to have
Yeah.
like 50,000 people tell me how wrong I was about something.
It would not be great.
It would shatter me.
And
I wouldn't survive that.
feels like no sign that it's stopping too. Like this is how society is, and I think sooner than later we're really gonna be witnessing how that affects people who have grown up that way, like especially like the influential, like the teenagers who grow up just being like influential. I mean, it's not great for the brain. It's gonna be
No.
bad.
I'm gonna try to keep my kid off of social media till she's 16.
Yeah.
Instagram is doing these teen accounts, and that there's no way that's gonna be good. And like,
I don't like the name teen account. That doesn't sound promising.
no, and I'm sure it's gonna be the same thing with like lesser ability for strange adults to contact them.
Yeah.
But like that undoes like a small part of the harm, but the big part of the harm is looking at like I mean it goes back to like what we were saying with like the penthouse and the Playboys. Like you're looking at like photoshopped, angled, filtered photos of women, and you think like that's how a female body is supposed to look, and that's bad for girls who feel like they need to aspire to it, and it's bad for boys who feel like that's what their partner should look like
Yeah,
when it's like it's fake.
and then going with that example of Penthouse and like they we even have an equivalent of the toxic Littles section because now we have like YouTube tools and podcast tools like Andrew Tate and shit, just completely milfing how brains work now.
Yeah, it's bad stuff. We need to teach more critical thinking skills, and we need to like I think our generation is not the best at like getting tricked by videos even. Like the boomers have no defense for it.
Yeah,
I think when you get to us, I don't think we have like because it wasn't there when we were kids. So like you
everything
don't
was pretty legit.
yeah, and so we don't have this like mental immune system to video or at least I don't have like a mental immune system to video content. Like I know how to vet a source on a piece of paper. And people are like showing me AI images like this is AI. I can't tell them apart.
It's
I know other
difficult.
people can, but like it scares me that I can't. And I don't want to get tricked into using an AI cover by a publisher. I don't want to get tricked by AI images into believing something that's not true. I don't want to get tricked by an AI video into thinking like somebody said something they didn't say in the news or politically. I just don't have the immune system, the mental immune system to tell that shit apart.
And plus, look how quickly people have relied on like Google's AI feature when you search anything. Like I keep trying to tell my stepson because anytime he needs to figure something out, he Googles it, but he does not scroll past the first like AI suggested response. And it's not just him. Everyone's doing that now. They've stopped clicking on any link and they just read whatever info the automatic AI tells them is the explanation they need. And that's the truth they accept now. And it's fucking crazy to me how
Yeah.
quickly that became like the normalcy of what's going on.
Yeah, it's bad. It's we need books to like help people combat this, but also just like we need to like convince people somehow like not to just settle for that.
Yeah.
But I think it's this shrinking idea of experts too. I think there's been like a concerted attack on the idea of expertise, and I think that that has been really, really bad. I know my partner is a pediatrician, and she'll have people come in and they'll like tell her like about how science works. So they watch a 20-minute YouTube video
Yeah.
and like I have lifted up the books Betsy read in medical school. They're like 25 pounds. She dissected a cadaver to figure out how the body works, along with like
Yeah.
professors and classes, and then was like quizzed on that.
I was the
Um,
cadaver.
you were the cadaver. Uh, but, but like her expertise comes from like I saw how hard medical school was firsthand. Well,
Uh-huh.
secondhand, I wasn't there. So yeah, secondhand. And like there's no amount of YouTube videos you could watch to know as much as her. I
Yeah.
mean, I think people forget that like that training is so intense. Like there's not amount of videos you can watch to become that educated.
Why would you need to go through college if you could just watch Joe Rogan just say, I don't know about that, man. The studies don't convince me.
But
It's Joe
speaking of
Rogan, the guy from Feel Factual, man. He told people to eat bugs. He knows.
because we're talking about cadavers, one of the evil books I brought in was the Destinies de la May by Arain Housset. I don't speak French, so I apologize. I'm not saying these words right. Have you heard about this?
No. Maybe if you said it in a French accent, I would know what you meant.
No.
Okay.
Uh,
I don't know about it though, so please tell me.
so speaking about cadavers, this book was bound in human flesh. And I'm getting a lot of this from an article in the Smithsonian I read, because Harvard, it was in the Harvard Library from like the 1930s to like last year.
Okay.
Um, I first heard about it in 2014 when the story broke that they had this book that was bound in flesh. But basically, the guy who wrote it, it's the book is translated to Destiny of Souls. That's the title. And he decided a book about souls should be bound in human flesh.
Whose flesh?
Notably, this was a woman who was a psychiatric patient of the author.
Oh no.
And yeah, after she died, he took part of her back and they used it to bind the book. She did not consent to that, could not consent because she was dead.
Yeah.
Um, it's
So it's
basically
okay then if she couldn't if she was
it's like
dead.
beyond awful.
Yeah.
And the guy described it saying you could see pores in the
Wow.
book, like because it's skin, you could see the
Yeah.
pores of the skin still.
That's pretty cool, man. Uh,
Uh,
what's it a good book? Like, do they have reviews?
it's a philosophy book, so I
What are
haven't read
people
it.
saying on Goodreads?
Do you want? I'll look it up on Goodreads.
Okay. So you said it like made headlines not too long ago. Did the museum not know it was human flesh? Like, did they suddenly realize, like, oh, wait a second, this is some lady's back?
It does not have good read reviews because it's such so old book.
And plus, who's reading it? Isn't it in the museum?
Well, it's in a library, not a museum.
Oh,
So
okay.
people were reading it, but it's like a scholarly text for like philosophers and theologic students
Yeah.
or theology students.
Does it
But
have a Goodreads page?
it does not have a Goodreads page
I'm gonna
yet.
make one.
We could make one. Um, yeah, but I think the funniest thing in the article was that the library interns, when people started working at the library, they would haze them by telling them to go find this book, and they'd come back and they'd be like, "That's human skin."
Pretty good.
I'm curious, how would you react?
I would probably be like, "Are you sure? How do you know?" I don't
Yeah,
think I would have the reaction they would want, which would be screaming and throwing it. But I might be pretty interested in what I was holding.
yeah, I'd be pretty grossed out. I wasn't like I didn't want to see it until I heard you could see the pores in this article I read the other day, and
Yeah.
now I'm like really curious about that in like a very sick way. Um, but
Is
yeah, I
that the
read about.
only example of a book bound in actual human flesh in real life?
Oh no, there was a bunch. The
Oh,
article mentioned those too, because they used to do it with prisoners' skins. Like you
do
get
they?
executed, and human flesh is pretty good for that. So like, there was a time in history where like, yeah, you would if you committed like a capital crime, you might get turned into a book.
Why did they stop? Well, did they stop?
They
Who's they?
definitely, well, I mean, bookbinders. I'm assuming it has mostly stopped. I do feel like there's enough serial killers in the world where like maybe one of them or two of them is still doing. They're listening now and they're like, "Fucking Max and Ryan, leaving me out of their podcast."
Right in. If anyone
Ryan,
listening
you're
has
a serial killer.
if anyone listening has bound a book with human flesh, right into the podcast, ghoulishpod@gmail.com. I would love to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty cool. I would consent to that, I think. Would you?
I maybe I don't know. It did inspire the book and say uncle. Like reading that passage in
Yeah.
2014. I didn't think I started the book for like 5 years, but that always stuck with me that like there was a book bound in human flesh at the Harvard Library for forever. I do wish because I was living in Boston when I read about
Yeah.
that I had gone in and been like,
Can I
can
see
I
the
see the
human?
book bound in human flesh?
Do you think
I
that
don't know
they
if
get that a lot? Just people coming in, not even
I'm
knowing the
sure.
title?
I'm sure when the article came out, they did.
Yeah. And when this episode drops, it's going to pick up again.
Well, the book's not in the library anymore. They unbound it from the human flesh. So you can still read the book in
Oh,
physical or digital form, I think the article said, but you can't touch the skin
did
because
they
they,
did they put the skin back on the lady?
I mean, I'm assuming since like sh the book was bound probably like the 1890s, like no,
Oh,
because I think it would just be like you'd be putting a book cover of
a
skin
skeleton.
on like a skeleton. You'd have to dig up the skeleton.
Yeah.
And I
Um,
don't know how psychiatric patients were buried back then. I imagine like a group grave. I don't imagine it was like with dignity the way they thought of people with mental illness in the 1890s.
do you know what they did with the skin?
I mean, so the big thing was that I think they tried to inter it all or like to just treat it all respectfully
Uh-huh.
because this book got taken out as part of a large scale review of all of the human remains in Harvard's collection.
What else does the school have?
So they had like mummies and stuff, that kind of stuff
How do
for
you get
like,
a mummy? Like, how do you get one? I don't know the
well,
rules.
you steal from Egypt.
Yeah.
It's not good stuff. A lot of Native American dead stuff,
All right.
bodies.
So it's a bad thing to have a mummy. Got it.
Yeah, it's bad stuff.
I don't want a mummy, to be clear. I mean, I might have a couple seconds ago, but for anyone listening, I don't want a mummy. Don't give me a mummy if you have one. Uh,
If you do, email the mummy to ghoulish@gmail.com. Or I guess fax. Do you have a fax number for
no,
people to fax you mummy
I
parts?
don't. That'd be cool, though. I haven't used a fax machine since I booked at a hotel. I haven't seen
That's
one since then.
yeah, yeah. You really don't see him much outside of the 1990s.
It was kind of insane to me how often I had to use a fax machine at that hotel. It made no sense to me. It's because I had grown up never knowing anything about fax machines. And then I got a job at a hotel and they were like, yeah, he used this a lot.
I had to use one for my job at a small college I worked at. And I remember one lady got really mad at me because she said I didn't send the fax. And I had to like explain to her her fax machine had to be on.
Yeah.
And then she stopped yelling at me, which was nice. I liked when people stopped yelling at me.
So you don't like it when people yell at you.
No, I could cry.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Any other books that you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, I want to talk about the most famous and most evil book, which in my mind is the Malleus Maleficarum or the Witch Hammer. It was written by Heinrich Kramer, and it's a
Okay.
demonology text which equated heresy with sorcery, and it was like a primary influence on the witch trials.
Oh man.
So like a lot of the stuff you read about was like if you poke a witch's mole with a needle and it doesn't bleed, she's a witch, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He came up with that kind of stuff, and he said that like you had to burn them. He was a Catholic. He was part of the Catholic Church, and they disavowed the book, but
Okay.
also let him keep his position after he published it.
So what
And
does what does that do then to the book? If you disavow it, but like let the guy keep his status. I mean, does the book stay in print?
yeah, well, it stayed in print.
Yeah, they didn't publish it. So what does that even do? Like, what does that mean?
They basically said it doesn't, it's not good. But imagine like a president saying like, "Oh, the minister of health is wrong," and the minister of health still gets to keep his job. Like people
Yeah,
are still going to believe that.
right.
So like it was the one of the main like sources that led to the very horrible witch hunts in Europe in like the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, and like the Salem witch trials.
Not a great book.
No, there was a copy at my college, and I was always like curious. 'Cause I learned about it in a medieval class I took,
Yeah.
like medieval lit class. And I would like go over it to it, and I'd like feel the urge to poop, which I always feel in libraries. There's like a word for it too. I forget what the word is.
IBS.
No, I have that too, but it wasn't that. There's like a word for like when you see a lot of books and you just like feel the urge to poop.
I don't know, man. What all the Goodreads reviews like?
The Malleus Maleficarum. Let's see.
Oh
Malleus
boy.
Maleficarum
As
Goodreads.
you look that up,
This one does have a Goodreads page.
Okay, lots of reviews.
400, oh, 399,
All right,
3.16 rating,
quickly go
2,780.
through them all and tell us the good ones.
I want to,
Go to the 1 star reviews.
you want to see the one-star reviews?
Yeah.
The first one's in Arabic.
What does it say?
It does have a fuming, angry emoji face before the Arabic writing starts.
Gotcha.
The next one is This is the most evil text ever written, a title I previously had reserved for Mein Kampf. Its
We
entire
don't
inception
want
was
to talk about
evil.
that one.
Huh?
We don't talking about Mein Kampf.
Third. Okay, this is crazy. I almost want to share my screen so you see I'm not bullshitting you.
Yeah.
The next four are also in what looks like Arabic.
Okay.
It's like maybe the top one is in bold and the other ones aren't in bold because they look like they're much lighter. So maybe there's two different languages I just don't recognize.
Gotcha.
Um, then Emma says, like its predecessor, De Secretis Mulierum, which provided the blueprint for medieval misogyny, the Malleus Maleficarum is a difficult book to review, let alone rate. As fascinating as it was, it's impossible to read without being acutely aware of the fact that it led both directly and indirectly to the deaths of thousands of innocent women.
Okay,
And it keeps going from there.
let's see some positive reviews.
Some positive reviews. All
Okay,
right,
what
let's.
are the 5 star reviews?
This is a go-to guidebook for identifying witches. If you suspect sorcery, the Malleus Maleficarum is your one-stop shop. Invaluable. Um,
Pretty good. Pretty good.
the next one is 5 stars for its historical significance. Definitely the most misogynistic and ludicrous text I've ever read, and it keeps going.
Yeah.
And then David says, "Oh, come sing it with me to the tune of Animaniacs, where Kramer and Spranger were here to point a finger."
Okay.
And the next one is in Spanish, which I don't speak super well.
Okay.
Pobre diabla que llora por un pobre diablo. And it has a bunch of devil emojis. So I think this person's trying to use it to make spells. And there's another Arabic one. Um, I've never seen an Arabic review on Goodreads until right now, which is
Yeah.
like of course people from other parts of the world use Goodreads. It's just
You seem so pissed about it.
I'm not pissed about it at all. I'm just surprised.
You're fuming.
Um, yeah, I'm gonna stop scrolling now, but there's like a
Yeah.
lot. Some people seem to think it's like a real book, and that those are the people I'm concerned about.
Right.
Because like I'm not against like magic and witchcraft, but this is like because like I didn't bring any actual witchcraft books into the evil books discussion on purpose because I recognize that like the Catholic Church named all of this stuff evil
Yeah.
so they could force it out and kill those people under false pretenses.
Hmm.
This book is the book they used to kill the people, which is why it's evil. So I'm not like shitting on witchcraft. It's the opposite. Um, I forget what we were talking about. I've lost my train of
We were
thought.
talking about evil books. Evil on topic. You
Oh,
couldn't have been
good.
Mill on topic.
It's not common when I'm on a podcast.
We were running out of time though. So before I move on, did you have any other books you had to get in?
No, no, these are the two books I really wanted to bring up.
Cool.
Um, because I do think there's this history of evil books being like just like treaties on misogyny.
Also, I would want to bring up The Catcher in the Rye makes you assassinate political figures when you read it. I
Who
highly recommend people read that book right now. Slipped,
who got assassinated after someone read that?
I don't fucking know. So assassination attempts, maybe.
Was it
You don't know about the history with The Catcher in the Rye?
no, is
It's
it
like
Ronald Reagan got
multiple,
shot for this?
at least two, I think, maybe even more. Well, some type of assassination attempt occurred, and then the person was found with that book in their possession.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, I thought you were the fucking expert on evil books. You
I'm
don't
not an
even know
expert on
about The
anything,
Catcher in the
Max.
Rye.
I'm not an expert on anything.
It was definitely I think Hinckley had it on him. And something else too. I don't have it up. I'm sure if I went to the fucking Wikipedia page right now. I
Yeah.
bet you there's even a section, the Ketchel and the Rye,
And Hinckley's the guy who
Wikipedia.
shot Reagan?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Violent reactions. Oh, they have a whole different fucking Wikipedia page. The Wikipedia page is okay. Okay. So shootings. The best known event associated with the Catch on the Rye is Milk David Chapman's killing of John Lennon in 1980. Chapman identified with the novel's narrator to the extent that he wanted to change his name to Holden Caulfield. On the night he shot Lennon, Chapman was found with a copy of the book in which he had written, "This is my statement," and signed Holden's name. Later, he read a passage from the book to address the courtroom during his sentencing. Also, after John Hinckley Jr. Attempted to assassinate Reagan, police found Ketchel Narai in his hotel room. Also, um, Robert John Brildo, who killed someone named Rebecca Sheffield, had the book on him when he visited this woman's apartment in Hollywood on July 18th, 1989, when he killed this lady. Three, at least three examples.
That's
That
crazy.
that makes an evil book, buddy.
Why do they still teach it in high school, do you think?
I don't because do you see who's the president? We
But they
want
were
it to
teaching it
happen again.
when I was in high school, they were still teaching it.
Who was the president when you were in high school?
Oh yeah, I think George Bush.
We want it to happen again. um, moving on from assassinations. Say Uncle's out now as of today, assuming I get this episode uploaded on Tuesday, April 29th. It's out. People can read it. What do you want people to take away from it?
I don't know. It's a good question. I just feel like I want them to read the book and take away the things they're supposed to take away, not
Yeah,
to. I don't want to put my finger in their pie and tell them what I want them to think after they read it.
that makes sense. Um, I will say it has a it's a great title. But beyond that, I mean, the book's a lot of fun. I think people should pick it up. It's it's really funny, but it's not just a comedy. It gets pretty bleak at times. It does a like the perfect balance of thrill and comedy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for publishing the book.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this. We first published together in 2014.
And DMD, right?
No, Gothic Blue Book number
Oh,
4 or 5.
Cena's Press.
Cena's Press, yeah. That's how I like learned about you. And then I read your
Oh,
work and loved it. And I like wanted to work with you. And we did a couple issues of, I had stories in a couple issues of DMD.
yeah.
So I feel like for me, this is like the culmination of like a long journey to like work with someone I deeply admire. And I'm very grateful to you for accepting my stories and very excited to be working with you.
Well, thank you, and I am excited to be working with you as well. I think I did know about what is that book called? The Blue Book?
It's I have it right here. Yeah, the Gothic Blue Book 5, the Cursed Edition.
Yeah, I think I did realize not too long ago we were both in it because I saw it for some reason and I was looking at the TOC mostly because I think I forgot what Australia I had in it. So I was looking like, what is in this? Yes, Cynthia Palaio. She used to, still does have a press. I don't think a lot of people know about it, but
Yeah.
cool anthology. I think it was what, hotel themed?
Uh, it was, I think, maybe vacation themed. My story was vacation themed, and your story was a hotel.
Okay.
I don't remember the rest.
Fairly evil book, if I had to say.
It's cursed. It's
Pretty
a cursed
feels.
edition.
Yeah. Lana, well, still on the right topic. How can people find you online?
I am at Ryan B4890 on Blue Sky and Instagram, and I have a Facebook page where I just can friend me. I don't care. Just friend anybody.
And you
It's
have a
all for marketing.
Patreon as
And I
well.
have a Patreon. Yeah, Drop Dead Fiction, I call it. I do stories, flash fiction where I perform and score them, and I describe it as like if Chris Farley performed The Twilight Zone, or if like Tim Robinson from I Think You Should Leave did Twilight Zone episodes. That's what I'm shooting for. That's like all comedy and horror about comedy, where the book gets more dark and serious. The Patreon does not.
Excellent. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you for writing a cool book. And those are the two things I'm thanking you for. I don't have a filled thing. Uh, Goodbye. And that was my conversation with Ryan C. Bradley about his brand new novel, Say Uncle. It came out at the end of last month. We recorded this podcast around the same time, but it took me a little bit of extra time to get it edited and uploaded because I love to procrastinate. Nah, it's real just like I am somebody who has way too many things going on all at once, and sometimes things get pushed aside. But this podcast is pretty fun to do, and also social media is mostly useless at this point. So I got to keep up with this podcast, got to keep it going. I'm running out of avenues to spread the goodwill of Ghoulish Books and also entertain my listeners. Hopefully, that's the goal at least. You entertain after listening to this episode. I write in say I'm entertained. If you're not entertained, please don't write in. I can't handle negative feedback. Well, I am a sensitive person and I will cry. All right, that's it. See ya hopefully next week with a brand new episode. It's already recorded, just got to edit it and get it uploaded. It's a fun one next week. I'm not going to say who it is, but I will say he is a indie filmmaker from Michigan. One of my favorites. Really excited to share that conversation I had with him. But until then, do the things that you do. Live spooky. Die spooky. Those are the two things. I don't have a third thing to say that you should do. Oh, buy Say Uncle by Ryan C. Bradley. Buy that book. Read it. Leave a review.